Welcome, ghosts, back to Bullet Catcher Gaming. I am joined by Sandyland once again, and we are here to have a look at the recent survey results. Apologies there hasn't been a video for over a month. It's just been absolutely insane at work, and obviously we've been putting these results together in the background, going through them, readying up these videos. They're actually going to be in two parts, and it's because obviously there's a lot of plates to put together. There were 56 questions. I didn't want to just bombard you with loads of like pie charts and analysis and stuff like that. So we thought break it into two shorter videos. The next one will be up in a couple of days. We're going to kind of have a deeper look into, say, 5 or 6, maybe 7 of the questions on this one, the same on the second one, and then the others will just be shown as a result, so you can just pause and have a look at the answers that interest you. We are going to be having a much deeper dive into these kind of questions and the answers that you came up with. That's probably been done in a podcast format with A Squad Gaming. And obviously, I want to say a thank you to A Squad and to Ghost Island Thunder for featuring this on their channels to try and get more people to complete the survey. We didn't have as many people as were wanted. We had about 4,000 responses, but some of those were duplicates. So we've removed the duplication from the results. So there's about 2,700 that we had. It's not as many as I would have liked, but I do totally understand why, some people were commenting, what's the point kind of thing, because we don't even know if we're getting a new game. All we've had is a couple of leaks. I totally understand that. Completely. Do get it. If there'd been confirmation we're having a new game, and it was Ubisoft had given confirmation, I'm sure a lot more people probably would have completed it. But for those who did, thank you so much. It's still given really interesting results. How it works is if you've never filled it out before and you're not sure. So the answer 1 is absolutely no, you don't want it, and answer all the way up to answer 10. And answer 10 is it must be in the game. So it gives you an average. So you could answer 1 through to 10, and then it will give you an average of what most people wanted. So let's have a quick look. We'll go through some of the questions, and then you can see a few more at the end, and then part 2 will come in a couple of days' time. So first question we're going to have a look at is, how important is it to you that the next game is in an open world environment? Sandy, what did you make of these results?
Yeah, I think that's a really important one for the game going forward. Is that it's still fundamentally an open world game. I know a lot of people talk about smaller sandboxes and maybe even going back to linear, but I think open world gives it the best chance of replayability.
Yeah, so if we look at the analysis here for this question, as you can see, most people did answer number 10. Obviously, the shocking thing is we've had a few people who didn't want open world. And, I do see some comments about that occasionally. Not everyone wants it. Some people say they would like a kind of smaller version of the open world where you have like 4 or 5 smaller worlds as such. And that could work, but most people here, as you can see, the average response was number 9, which that is very much telling us that everyone who did the survey, I think, gives you a good indication from the community that they want open world. So let's move on to another question that we've chosen. So how important is it to you that there's an option between first and third person view? Before I come into Sandy, we'll look at the analysis first. Number 10, once again, by far the most answered question here. Now, some people might say, well, what one do you want? Would you prefer first, third, whatever? We just thought it's a much better question to ask, would you like both? Because I think most people would. And as judging by the answers you can see here, most people would like both. And the average answer is 8. So very high again that people would like first and third. But I do think that the majority of people that I speak to would prefer third if they only have the option of 1. That's the feedback we get. What do you make of it, Sandy?
I mean, my personal preference has always been third person, but I've seen how well Wildlands has been received once it had the first person mod. So I think it's always better to give the player base the option.
Yeah, we've talked about that loads on podcasts and stuff before. Give us more options. If we had both, I think it would. I think it would bring more people into the game as well, because simply first person people might not want to play third and vice versa. So if you've got both, always have more options than less. That's what I say. So, but interesting one. Most people would like that option. So, how important is a repelling system in a future game? Now, I picked this question to kind of have a quick look at because it's something that's been brought up for as long as I can remember. Average answer again here is 8 out of 10. And as you can see, it clearly is those top three answers, 8, 9, and 10, have got the most votes by a long way here. So we want rappelling off of helicopters, fast roping, rappelling off of cliff sides, buildings, that kind of thing. What do you make of this, Sandy?
Again, it's one of the things that the fans have really been asking for. It was quite frustrating in the last two games to, have to basically free jump to get down the side of a cliff. It doesn't make sense, whereas rappelling does.
Absolutely, and I'd like to see higher, taller buildings as well. So rappelling would definitely make sense, especially if you could enter through windows and things like that. I think that's something that people would like to see. Now, another question here: how important is it to be able to micromanage your AI teammates? This came back with an average of 8 again, but as you can see, the answer 10 once again miles out in front compared to everything else. So that is a really good indication that the community want to be able to micromanage them. And I think by micromanaging, we are talking about giving out individual orders. I think that's really important to be able to have more options for your AI teammates and not just have the same thing that we've had in the last two games where you've got the same options both times. We want far deeper options, and then people might start using them. If you can specifically move each one, to an individual place, give each one individual commands, I think it would revolutionize it, and a lot more people would probably use them. What do you make of that?
Oh no, I completely agree. I think that the current system that we've got, the current four commands that we've got, are extremely limited in what you can actually do with them, and it's annoying that you can't do it for individual characters. So again, the more options they give us, all right, it might be a bit more complicated, but the more options they give us, the more likely we are to use them.
Problem is, there were games made 20 years ago that were doing a better job of that. So I understand that it's not as simple as that, but I do think we should be improving upon those options, not taking them away, and just having what we've had in the last couple. Yes, they worked, but they didn't work particularly well, and you couldn't be tactical really. And it's supposed to be a tactical shooter, and you couldn't really be tactical with your AI teammates. So there you go. The community has spoken on that one. So we're going to ask this question: how important is it to you that the camouflage you choose in game can give you a detection buff? Personally, I think this is massively important. And judging by these results, as you can see here, the community thinks it is massively important too. You can't be wearing, green camo, walking around a snowy plain in green camo and still have the same as if you were wearing white camo. You should have some kind of buff to give you a better, be able to be less detected by enemies if you're wearing the right camo for the right environment. It's really stupid if you can't do that. It doesn't make any sense that you don't get any kind of buff whatsoever for wearing the correct camo for the correct environment. What do you make of it?
Again, as going back to what you said just a minute ago, this is meant to be a tactical shooter. Your decisions matter, and if camouflage is a big thing in the military world, and if they're not going to bother implementing it in the game, then technically there's no point in having skins. There's no point in having different camouflages. You may
What
as well run
what
them around naked.
Yeah, what I find really fascinating is that, like, if you were to be standing in the middle of a forest and you were wearing a white snow camouflage, you would currently have exactly the same detection limits as if you were wearing a ghillie suit. That doesn't make any sense. And I mean a green camouflage ghillie suit. That is. That makes zero sense as you just said, in a tactical game.
Yeah. The little things that make the biggest difference.
Exactly. So next one, how important is it to you that nighttime or dark areas give you a detection buff? So similar question. Once again, average response here is a 9. And as you can see, it's nearly all 10s if you look at the actual chart itself. So the community speaking here, 3/4 of you saying that answering 10, that it must be in there. Once again, in the other games, doesn't make sense. That you struggle to see people at night, but people who aren't wearing MVGs can spot you hiding behind a tree in the dark easier than you can see them. It doesn't make any sense at all. The nighttime thing needs to be completely overhauled. You need to have an advantage at night, otherwise what's the point of really having a day-night cycle if there's no advantage to doing it? What do you make of that?
No, again, I completely agree with the community on this. Nighttime in dark areas, the whole point in being a ghost is you're meant to hide in the shadows. What's the point if the shadows don't work?
Yeah, really good answer. That makes total sense. So how important is it to you that enemy NPCs can do whatever you can do in game? So that's like fire from cover, crouch, prone position, etc. Average answer, once again, 9, with the most by far here obviously being question answering as a 10, which means it must be in there. Yeah, and it's really obvious because it doesn't make sense. I've mentioned this in a few videos recently. It doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's like bobbing apples with just waiting for people to poke their heads up. They need to be able to crouch, flank, do all of those kind of things. It doesn't make sense that they don't do that now. We need an enemy that's going to engage us, be difficult, going to be challenging, and it's just the AIs just feels very out of date. What do you make of that one?
Yep, I mean, what annoys me is that they on the last game they put some of the things in. You'll see the characters taking a kneeling position, enemy characters taking a kneeling position, but then they'll get up and instead they'll get up for the cover they're in, then run into a wide open space to attack you. Where they should be firing for cover. There should be covering fire when people are moving forward. The game's meant to be challenging, and it's just no at the minute.
And imagine running through a field with long grass and not knowing if there's some prone enemies in there. Whereas, in the games now, you know full well that there can't be anyone there because you'd see them because they'll be standing up. So that's the community making complete sense on this one here. So they're just 7 questions that we picked out. We'll do another 7, a little bit of in-depth on part 2. But I'm just going to show you 20 of the other questions now. Maybe we'll just put a bit of music or something over and pause them, have a look at them. And like I said, we'll go through some more on the next one. And we are going to do some kind of live stream with A Squad to really go through this in depth over the course of a few hours. Really look at this because to me, we wouldn't have done it otherwise. This survey is massively, massively important. We need Ubisoft to understand what it is we want from this game. And there's no easy way of doing that. So the easiest way is to create something like this so they can see exactly with statistical analysis of what the community is asking for. So thank you once again for everyone who filled it out. Part 2 coming in a couple of days. Sandy, thank you so much for jumping on. And we will then show you 20 more now. So pause them as you wish. Thank you again. Take care, and I'll see you again on the next one. Bye-bye.